Getting humiliated by a game sucks, especially Metal Gear Solid, which punishes you just for enjoying it. If you spend too long in the field without a break, you'll start to smell really bad. Flies start swarming around, it's a problem. But once you return to base, your own crew will be repulsed, with Ocelot taking matters into his own hands.
You stink.
Not as shocking as Deus Ex punishing you for admiring the game. During the start of Human Revolution, you have to rescue some hostages, except this is the opening mission, so obviously we're gonna explore and look for items. For those whose curiosity got the best of them, once you get to the hostages, they're all dead. Oh my god. And things really got personal when players decided to romance every girl in Persona 5 Royal. I mean, yeah, the game lets you do that, but it doesn't mean you should, because Valentine's Day gets awkward. You're way better at handling crowds of people in Sifu. This martial arts game is super unique thanks to one feature, old age. I'm not kidding, every time you get defeated, your age increases, and you'll literally turn elderly. For those who can't put up a fight anymore, you'll get too old, and now you gotta start the chapter all over again. You also age in Mortal Kombat thanks to the stress of online matches. Sometimes your opponent is simply better than you, and if you decide to rage quit, the game humiliates you even further with
Quitality.
I was not expecting that.
Animal Crossing uses real clocks, so it knows if you haven't played it a day, a week, or even a year. Because of this, checking into your island and its inhabitants every day is super enjoyable, but it also has some consequences. For anyone who puts down the game and returns to it after a while, well, you got some work to do. The island's overgrowing with weeds, the star rating will go down, and villagers are unhappy that you left them for so long. If you somehow don't play New Horizons for 40 years, you'll open the game and be locked out. And speaking of animals, there's a Capcom game called Haunting Ground, and your dog companion is so important they even put him on the cover. He helps you with your puzzles, fights off enemies. Who could say no to this little guy? Well, if you're a horrible person who neglects him, the game will never forgive you. I won't either, but that's beside the point. Once you reach the ending, he won't come and save you, leaving you to die in a glass box. Most of the time, you could get away with this stuff because no one knows the game trolled you, right? Well, in Skullgirls, one fan enjoyed the entire game, playing from start to finish without a care in the world, until they beat it and a message popped up saying, "What is the square root of a fish? Now I'm sad." I know, it makes absolutely no sense, so naturally they went on Twitter and asked the developers what this meant. Oh, that? It means you should probably buy the game instead of pirate it, which is a crazy response because it basically exposed them on Twitter to thousands of people. Being shamed in public doesn't just happen on social media. EVE Online has an annual event that is designed just to humiliate players. It's called GM Week, and the devs livestream themselves looking for cheaters. Not only are they shamed with an icon, they'll be teleported to a lobby full of players ready to destroy them. Yeah, it's a public execution, an insane way to combat hacking. The devs of Fallen Order took a different approach. They decided to troll everyone who plays the game. On the first planet, you could ignore the main quest and explore for loot before you continue. Most of us could get away with this until you spot this frog in a cave. I don't care if it's the start of the game, I'm good enough to fight this guy, right? Well, that's until you drop down and Ogdo Bogdo reveals himself, the most difficult boss in the entire game without a warning. From players who are too curious to those who got bored, if you play Metal Gear Solid 3 and decide to take a lengthy break from the story, you will regret it. By the time you come back, all the food in your inventory is spoiled. I'm not talking a couple days here, this only happens if you're gone for weeks at a time, so maybe you deserved it. One of my favorite trolls comes from Bethesda and Morrowind. As you're exploring the world, there's a chance a random mage falls from the sky. You can mind your own business, but let's be a jerk and loot him. Here you'll find a spell that gives you a jump boost. If you stopped and thought about this for even a second, you would probably avoid it. But for those who were overconfident, they used this thing and immediately got sent to space. Yep, no fall damage, and you go splat. Now you know what killed the mage. Being overconfident is one thing, but in Payday 2, you can be straight up evil. Sure, the game is about robbing banks, but you can at least do that as peacefully as possible. No one is telling you to go out and wipe every civilian in the area because, I mean, that's messed up. Luckily, the devs realized this and added a personal punishment if you do it. For every civilian you take out, you gotta wait 30 seconds in custody. That means your teammates could do the entire heist without you if you went on a rampage. It's not worth being evil, but it's also not worth being a tryhard. In the original Jak and Daxter, you could complete the entire game without a care in the world. If that wasn't satisfying enough, you could totally go for the 100% completion and get every power cell. It was extra work, sure, but the reward sounded amazing. A secret ending. Who wouldn't want that? Well, that's until you actually got there and this door was finally unlockable. Let's open it and see what's inside. Wait, That's it? Turns out you had to wait for the sequel to answer this question, so there was no point in all that work. I can understand being punished for leaving the map though. In GTA 5, the entire island is surrounded by water. It would be very difficult to escape unless you had a plane or something. It's GTA, of course you do, and trying to leave doesn't give you an invisible wall or turn you around. Nope, it is so much more terrifying than that. The smartest developers are the ones who hide a punishment in the game's design. In Left 4 Dead, players came up with the craziest ways to survive a horde. Usually this involves getting to a high vantage point where they can't reach you. Well, the devs thought of this while making the game and purposely added a zombie with a super long tongue. It can reach you from insane distances, dragging you towards them and away from your teammates. One of the funniest trolls is for diehard fans of Sly Cooper. At the end of the second game, once you've spent hours completing it, you get to finally sit back and watch the credits. Maybe you grabbed a snack or something, but as it shows those final names, you might expect a post-credit scene. That's until the game tells you to get out of here because you've seen everything you want, now go outside. Clarence Little. Of course, it's an average GTA mission, so it's never as simple as that. This involves a huge chase that leads you to a final showdown on the rooftop. Clarence will surrender and plead for mercy. This is where the game actually gives you a choice. You can just end it here or walk away and let him live. But bear in mind, this is Grand Theft Auto, so your decision will have consequences. If you have trust issues, the mission is over and you can move on with your life. But if you're more forgiving and spare Clarence, he'll come back later only to try and kill you.
I might be a but you're so.
If you consider yourself smart though, you're probably someone who's tried to exploit a game before. I wouldn't recommend doing it in Assassin's Creed Odyssey because it will punish you just for trying. Alright, so you can purchase an Olympian gift, basically a loot box that hands you an amazing item. But this is a single player game. Surely if you don't like what's inside, you could just load an old save and try again, right? Well, your currency is stored on Ubisoft servers and not your hard drive. So you went back in time, lost the loot, while the game kept your money.
God, please, no!
If you love being disrespectful, don't play Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life. The devs have no time for people who are playing rude, especially to your wife. So in the game, you have a spouse and a kid who occasionally visit you while you maintain the farm. It's nice to see them every time you get the chance, but some people just ain't cut out for marriage. Thanks to the dialogue options, you could be a certified jerk to your wife, and she won't sit there and take it. Eventually, she'll give up, take your kid, and divorce you. If you take those anger issues out on Splatoon, don't be one of those players who rage quit all the time. I mean, yeah, we've all done it, but if you rage constantly game after game, even Splatoon tells you to just calm down with a message that drops the hammer on you. Now, that doesn't mean you should always be the nicest person around. In The Last of Us Part 2, you can wipe out an entire squad of enemies, leaving only one person remaining. If you're on the brink of killing them, they'll throw down their gun and beg for their life. Pretty convincing performance, so you're likely to spare them, but I don't recommend that because they'll use your kindness against you and start shooting from behind.
Betrayal.
Yeah, it sucks when it happens to you, but imagine if you were the one shooting someone in the back. Well, you can do just that in Sea of Thieves, sneaking up on another player and blasting them with a blunderbuss. They'll get taken out immediately, and your reward is being called a coward. Hey, sometimes that's how it goes, but the worst kind of player is someone that truly breaks the rules by hacking. In Warzone, there are way too many cheaters, and the developers have spent night and day trying to find a solution. Instead of just banning them, they thought they would have some fun with the hackers. So in June, the anti-cheat was updated with a new way to mess with modders. Fake enemies. Yeah, they'll hallucinate opponents to distract them, so they don't mess with real players and also make them very obvious. Those are 24 games that punish players. It's been Tommy, and as always, make sure to keep it here on T5G.